Mrs. Red, I need to talk to you for a moment.
Well, I was just about to leave, but I can take a few moments to talk. How can I help you, Mrs. Blonde?
I just got my son's report card and it says he has a D in your class. That is impossible. He is an A student. I demand that you change his grade.
Mrs. Blonde, considering that we had a meeting 2 weeks ago about your son's poor performance in class, I should think it is not impossible that he has a D.
You said he had a D, but that you could change it to a B or a C.
No, Mrs. Blonde, what I said was that your son could come to tutoring on Tuesdays to help make up classwork. I also made a take-home packet for him to turn in for partial credit. If he had turned in the packet I given you and had come into tutoring, he would have been able to bump his grade up to a C.
Then why didn't you change his grade?
Because your son never came into tutoring, even though I would remind him during class. He also never turned in the packet I sent home with you. I sent you 3 emails and called you twice.
You're lying. You never gave me a packet.
Yes, Mrs. Blonde, I did. Not only did I give you a packet at our last conference, I also gave you an answer key so that you could help your son. It took me 2 hours to make just for you.
That long packet. We didn't have time to work on that packet. We have busy schedules. We have other things to do than homework. You give too much homework.
Mrs. Blonde, the reason the packet was so large was because it was all the work that your son never turned in. He had 2 full weeks to complete it as well as the weekends.
It was still too much work. You give too much work. It's just busy work. My son Zach doesn't really need to know these things in life. They aren't really important. You don't teach things that matter. Your class is stupid. All of the parents think so. You don't know what you are talking about. You are bad with kids. My son says you are mean.
Mrs. Blonde, I'm sorry that you think algebra is stupid. But I can assure you that if Zach ever wants to apply for a loan to buy a car or house, he will need to know algebra. If he ever wants to get into college, he will need to know algebra. If he ever gets a credit card, he can understand his interest rates better. Algebra is used on a daily basis.
He already knows algebra. Zach is a genius. You have to change his grade so he can play football. Football is his favorite sport. He watches it all the time. He will go pro.
Mrs. Blonde, I'm going to be frank with you. You are an idiot. You do not hold your son accountable for his grades in schoolwork, and it makes it impossible for me to help him. He will never succeed in life for as long as you bully teachers into changing his grade for him. I will not change his grade. Zach needs to learn how to work for his grades. I also find it hard to believe that you did not have the time to help Zach with his schoolwork, considering you just told me how he always watches football. I also happen to know that last weekend you and your husband were quite drunk. Zach told the whole class. He said that you guys spent all of last Saturday drinking at the lake. He also told everyone how his father got arrested for drunk and disorderly, and that you made him drive you home after because you were too drunk to drive. He is only 12. It is my opinion that Zach's poor behavior in school is a result of you and your husband. Which is why I try to work with him as much as possible and help him with tutoring. However, Zach must still be held accountable in school and in life so he doesn't end up like you or his father. So the next time you decide to lecture me, I suggest you take a long look at you and your husband's inadequate parenting. I wish people like you were sterilized. You are right about one thing though. Zach is extremely smart. However, he never puts forth effort. If you have any love for your child, you would encourage him to participate in school. You would also stop partying so much and pay attention to your child. Zach has said that you even once locked him outside overnight because you got so drunk you passed out at 4 p.m. Parents like you make me sick. So if you will excuse me, I have an appointment with CPS.